Further, in this video, we're going to look into near, which is pretty deep into the accumulation cycle. And we are going to look at where the bulls and bears are battling around, whether there are any bull traps or bear traps, and whether, there are any whale footprints through the Wyckoff lens. Remember, these are education content only, not financial advice. We'll start off with the daily chart of near. And let me enlarge this so you can see it clearer. So, a few weeks ago, there was a force, break to the downside, but immediately in 2 days, the price climbed back to within the uptrend that we have been tracking, since the beginning of February. So, I mentioned in other sessions that you can see two pretty big candlesticks with higher than average volume in almost every single altcoin, but their size are different. In the case of near, these two candlesticks size is not as crazy compared to the previous periods that it has. So the trading range of near isn't really bound by those two candlesticks compared to other altcoins. And in this scenario, near is actually going through an uptrend since then. And it is still continuing. On Monday, there was a force, or you can say a bear trap. People might think that the price is going to drop below this higher lows situation. But then it did not. It stayed above. So I would adjust this box slightly, just to capture that part. And then we have to adjust the dates. So these dates are dates that either the ceiling or the bottom crosses those support or resistance levels. After changing it, now that turns to 1st of June. And when the price or the trade gets to those windows, there are only one of two things that can happen. Either it breaks a support level or resistance level, meaning in this case for near, if it breaks the support, the uptrend has finished. If it breaks the resistance, in this case, the current resistance is $1.6, the key level. That's why you see yesterday there was a wick when the price gone above it, and today it is retracing a little from that level. So the resistance is still there, but the uptrend hasn't finished. So if it breaks the resistance, that means the uptrend is going to continue. However, there's also another ceiling. It's a little bit too early. This ceiling has been tested 2 times in March, and we may be seeing the third time now very soon. There's also one line over here that we need to look at, which the price of near is currently above this particular line. This is the center line of this channel, or I call it the air hockey table. Reason, look at these bounces, right? If you don't know what an air hockey game is, that it is. People on both sides basically pushing the puck, hitting the puck, let it bounce between the boundaries. That's exactly what it is. Of course, in this scenario, we've got something we call a center line, but this line doesn't always cut the box exactly in half. Sometimes it's skewed towards one end. And in this scenario, it's close enough to the center. And that's where we are seeing, sometimes you ask, why you don't see resistance when you draw horizontal lines? In this case, yes, there are references over here that 1.5 level definitely has resistance. But it doesn't explain why today's price isn't dropping to the there. That's where the center line is. You see the resistance over here. And you see the resistance over here that gone above the yellow, but paused or get rejected right around that center line. So a lot of people measure horizontal, but they don't measure uptrend or downtrend. Okay, that's the difference you can get. So here we see a little triangle over here. That's not too alarming if it, breaks the resistance we already talked about. It's going to continue with the uptrend. If it breaks this center line, that's not too big of an issue because it's still technically within the uptrend, just that it drops back to the weaker half of the channel. All right, just like what it did for the entire April. Okay, so what is this date then? That's May 19th. So in 10 days time, it can happen sooner, but at least in 10 days time, we'll get an answer. Whether it is going to continue with the uptrend on the stronger half, breaking the yellow T level of $1.6, or is it going to go ahead along the weaker half? All right, so it's still within the uptrend until it breaks this particular line over here that it almost did it just a few days back. Now, what about the big picture? We see this massive candle this week, but the volume actually is coming down. But that's not a good sign, okay? That means this rally is potentially taking a pause, even if it managed to go above the yellow T level 1.6 and go to challenge 1.96. We want to see higher white volume. Imagine that's your rocket fuel tank. If you want to launch your rocket to the moon, you want this cool fuel stay at a higher level, not red overheated fuel that's going to bring your rocket down. Okay? So it is in the mid-late stage of accumulation. I mentioned many times, during the accumulation, the price can drop below the initial panic over stage, and then coming to test and check out the paper hands as much as possible. It happened back in the 2023. You see, initial low was around 1.29, and then after kind of sideways trading, it dropped to a very low level at around $1. Around $1, and then it started to show a sign of strength, and then it goes to the formal stage. So we are going through a period kind of similar to what happened back in late 2023. I hope that's the case, that we are close to this kind of activity. We never know, but we definitely want to see the sign of strength come in. Okay, we are into that range now. So you can find my work on Substack as well. I've written a bit of my view across the performances, both macro and crypto. So go check it out. See you in the next video. Thank you.